Hi everyone, I'm here with a tutorial for something that I tend to notice that beginner artists, they kind of fudge this up a little bit when they try to create blackout eyes for their photo manipulations. They forget that they have to put some kind of dimensionality into the eyes. And it's easy enough to do this if you have eyes that already have a visible reflection in them. So that's what we're going to do with this portrait. I was trying to find a stock image with a reflection of a window or a door, something with an amorphous shape that can't really be replicated in a studio setting. And I ended up just taking a photo of myself because I have eyes and I have windows in my house. So voila! So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to zoom in on the eyes because that is exactly what we're going to work on. And I'm going to go to my magnifying glass, make sure I have a little plus sign, and just zoom in. At the moment, I'm going to only do one eye and leave this one alone so we have a nice comparison of kind of a before and after to give you an idea of what it looks like when you're done. So we'll zoom in here, and as you can see, yeah, this kind of reflection would be rather difficult to replicate in Photoshop unless you're a very talented digital painter. But because we're just going to use this reflection as is, it'll make our job a little bit easier. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our Lasso tool. Now you could use the regular Lasso tool or polygonal, whichever you prefer is fine. I'm going to use just the regular Lasso tool, and we're going to select out, give a bit of space around the reflection. You could even get this little piece right down here if you want to. Just kind of get as much of it as you can. Let's center it a little bit. And then we're going to go to Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste. And you can see when we hide our original layer, voila, there we go. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new layer because you do not want to paint on your original layer. You want everything that you do in Photoshop to be non-destructive, which means anything you add to the image, you should leave at least a duplicate or the original layer untouched. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to go over to my layers menu. It's this little icon right up here. New layer. We'll name it Black Eyes. And we're going to go to our default colors. We're going to switch it to make sure our foreground is black. Go to our paintbrush. We're going to get the size. The size should be relative to your image. Now I have a fairly high quality image, so I think around size 25 will be fine. We want to make the brush fairly soft, maybe 80%. You don't want it to be very sharp because you can see here the border between the eyelid and the eyeball. It's not a sharp pencil line. It's kind of soft. It's got a little bit of smudging of colors and blending in together. So you want to try and replicate that look. So we're going to start over in this corner, and I'm going to hold down the Shift key to help paint along this line. At the moment, don't worry about highlights or getting that 3D effect. Right now, we're just filling in the base color. So that's all you need to worry about right now. So we're going to go along the edge here. Don't worry so much about the eyelashes. We're going to deal with that in just a moment when we're done with the eye. Now, as you can see up here, I retained the highlight that was originally part of the eyelid. You don't want to get rid of that. You want to just go in exactly where the eyeball is. I'm going to do the same thing here and just go above the highlight. This will all be blended in together in just a moment. So bear with me while I finish up here. Now this section here, you're going to only paint inside here. Do not paint over this. I've seen a lot of artists, they paint over this entire thing here and they don't realize that that's not part of the eyeball. That's part of the eyelid. So just kind of even it out here, just so you don't get these strange shapes. Let's make it a little bit smaller and just kind of fill in that little gap right there. Ta-da! And up here, ta-da! And we're good. And we're going to use the smaller brush and just kind of soften this up. I'm going to go use my eraser tool. I'm going to sharpen up the edge to 80% the way I had before and just kind of remove that little bump there because it was looking a little strange. It didn't look natural. And you can always go in, you know, since it's on a new layer, you can go between your paintbrush tool and your eraser tool and just kind of fill in using the shift key and get the look right. Here in this corner, since it's kind of a sharp corner, I'm going to create more of a sharp corner. That looks better. That looks a lot better. Now go back to your paintbrush tool. Once you have a nice border that you're happy with, just make your brush slightly bigger, not too big obviously, because you want to stay within the borders, and just paint in. As you can see, the layer we had created is right above. If you want, you can turn it off, that way you can see what you're doing and make sure you fill it in completely. Here we go. Let's make it a little bit smaller so I can fill in that little piece right there, and voila. Now typically what I do to help soften up the edge a little bit more, because it is looking a bit sharp over here, and that's not what I'm going for. I want it to blend in together as much as possible. I'm going to go to my smudge tool, which can be found over here where blur, sharpen, and smudges. I'm going to leave, actually the brush size at 60 is fine. We're going to leave the strength at 15, and we're just going to lightly pass over. As you can see, it's helping to soften it up a little bit more. You don't want to go too far, because then you're going to start smudge. You could use the blur tool as well, but I tend to use smudge because it'll help me sorry about that. It will help me relocate the outline if I need to. So it softens and moves, and that's why I tend to use it instead of the blur tool. And just kind of soften this up so it's not a hard edge. I think that looks good. I think we're good there. And you can also soften it up here with the highlight, make sure that it's kind of blending together a little better. The next step we're going to do, let me go back to my little pointer, we're going to create a new layer. We're going to name this Highlight. Oops. Ta-da! We're going to right click on this layer and we're going to choose Create Clipping Mask. What Clipping Mask does is whatever you do in this layer will only affect the layer directly beneath it. So even if you were to paint, as I'll show you in a moment, let's switch to the white and make it a bit of a dark gray. You don't want to make it too light because this is just a highlight. It's not a big highlight though. Let's make it a little bit bigger, our brush. Let's try around 500 pixels. That works. So you're just going to just tap. Just once. Leave it at 100% for opacity and flow. And now we're going to dial it back by using the opacity in the layer menu. So instead of 100, let's put it at, let's say, 40%. That looks a lot better. You just want a slight highlight. You want it to have a bit of a three-dimensional look. If you want, you can even relocate the highlight so that it's over here, more to the center, or by the end. And as you can see, because we've chosen Clipping Mask on this layer, it doesn't go past the boundaries of the black we painted in. So I'm just going to leave it right about there. We're going to make a new layer now. We're going to name this Shadow. We're going to do the same thing. Right click, Create Clipping Mask. We're going to switch back to our black. We're going to make our brush much smaller, sorry. The hardness is going to stay at 0. Put it about 35 pixels. And what we're going to do is we're just going to, the opacity should be lower too. We don't want it to be too strong. Oh no, you can leave it opacity 100. And then just paint in right here. I'm going to use my move tool and just kind of relocate it a little bit. And I'm going to go to the layers menu and bring down the opacity to about 25, I think. 24 or 25 is around there. And as you can see, it helps to bring in the shadow that would be caused by the eyebrow on the eye. Now we're finally going to bring in our reflection. The way we're going to do this is we need to first remove all the color because the effect that we're going to use requires that this be black and white. So we're going to go to, let me move our Photoshop right into place. Image, adjustments, desaturate. That removes all the color. The next step we're going to do is we're going to go to the layers menu again, set the blending mode from normal to screen. Now, as you can see, it lightened up a little bit. What it's done is when we're done with this, the blacks will disappear into the background and the highlights will be the only thing that you can see. So we'll go to adjustments, levels, and we're going to take the shadows and pull that towards the right. As you can see already, the darker areas are starting to disappear into the black eye that we painted. We're going to take the highlights and pull them to the left to bring the highlights more. And then the midtones, we're going to pull across closer to the right. And I think that's far enough because I do want to try and keep the reflection of the car just a little bit, and these two lines as well. So we'll click OK when we're happy with how it looks, and then we will go to the bottom of our layers menu. We will have add a mask, add layer mask, and at the moment it's just blank white. We're going to switch to black, go to our paintbrush, and make sure that the hardness is 0 and the size is fairly small. And we're just going to paint in gently around this area. You could even bring down the opacity so that it's not too strong of a brush. Just kind of blend it all together. Now let's zoom out so we can see how that looks. Zoom out with our magnifying glass. And voila! Before and after. The reflection is what helps to bring it into the real world. Without the reflection, it looks like a big empty void. It looks fake, it looks painted. The reflection helps to make it look realistic. Normally I would worry about the eyelashes, but it actually turned out okay because the eyelashes were pretty high. If you wanted to save the eyelashes or bring them out, let me know and I can show you how to do that in another tutorial because this one's getting a little long. But hopefully this was helpful for somebody. If you've got any other methods or tips and tricks or things that would make this method better, by all means share them in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye!